Today, I would like to talk through my 2021 first quarter TBR. I've been thinking about doing quarterly TBRs because I don't read enough in a month for it to really be an interesting TBR. It would only be like 2 or 3 books. So instead, I'm intending to do quarterly TBRs. And I was originally only gonna do like 5 books because I wanna have some leeway, but books have come up, and so I have 8 books to share with you today that I'm hoping to get read over the course of January, February, and March. I'm filming this on January 10th, so I have started on this TBR a little bit, but there's still quite a lot left of the quarter, so I don't think that's an issue. Now, the first book that I have with me is Towers of Midnight by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. This is the 13th and penultimate book to the Wheel of Time series. I already started this in 2020. I read like half of it in 2020. It's 1,200 pages long, so I read about 600 of those pages in 2020, and now I'm on page 1028. So I've got a little under 200 pages to go, so I'll definitely get this finished in this quarter, obviously. And I'm excited to finish this and to move on to the last book in this very large epic adult fantasy series. The second book I have with me is Caliban's War by James S.A. Corey. This is the second book in the Expanse series, which is a large epic sci-fi series. It's got 8 books, I think, currently, and I think the 9th and last book is coming out this year. So this is the second book. I read the first book, Leviathan Wakes, in 2020 and quite enjoyed it, so I wanted to continue on with the series. I started this on January 1st, so I've gotten a little way into it. I haven't read like anything the last couple of days, but I'm on page 235 out of 595, I think. So I'm over a third through, but I still have some left to go. The part of it that I've read so far has been very exciting. It's been expanded a bit. There were only 2 point of view characters in the first book, and in this one there are 4. So I'm definitely getting a broader view of the world, or, of the universe. So that's very interesting, getting, an Earth perspective and a Martian perspective and all that. So I'm enjoying it so far, and I'm excited to finish it and then eventually also continue on with the Expanse series. The next book I have that I haven't started yet, but that is the next one that I'm intending to pick up, is Doris Book by Marilyn Sachs. I have the Swedish version, but it's originally written in English. This is kind of a modern children's classic, you could say. It's written in the 70s, and it's a book that I read a lot growing up. I have my own old copy that's like completely torn apart, like the cover is like completely detached from the pages. And so for my birthday, which is coming up, my mother gave me this like newer secondhand edition so that I can reread it, and I'm definitely going to. So it's a children's book, or like a middle grade book, I guess, about Dorrie, who's I think 11, and she's been an only child for all of her life. And then her parents go and have triplets. And it's about, the trials and tribulations of suddenly being the older sister to triplets. And I don't exactly remember the plot. I just remember I thought it was really funny and I really liked it as a child. So it'll be fun to reread it and kind of maybe try and figure out what it was that I liked about it so much. So this will be really cozy. It's very short. It's only like 150 pages. So it's obviously not going to take me long once I pick it up, but I'm intending to wait until I finish Caliban's War until I pick this up. But then once I do, I'll finish it in probably a couple days. Now, I mentioned in my 2021 goals video that went up before this one that reading more Jane Austen is a big goal for me this year. And so I have Sense and Sensibility here by Jane Austen. I also mentioned this on my 2021 project TBR, so this is a big priority. So this is Jane Austen's very first book, and it follows sisters Elinor and Marianne Dashwood, who are very different. Marianne is the younger sister, and she definitely wears her heart on her sleeve. She's very romantically inclined, and she really, goes for what she wants. Well, Elinor is the older sister, and she's a lot more restrained and, more sensitive to social norms and is trying to, behave properly. And I've seen the movie, but I have never read the book. I've only read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, but that is one of my favorite books of all time. So I'm very excited to get to pick up this one. It's, you know, kind of a gateway into me continuing with the Jane Austen books, because that's something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm finally making it a priority and putting this one on this list, as well as on my 2021 project TBR. The next book that I have is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid. And this, I don't know exactly how to describe it. It's a horror, which I'm not sure if I'll be able to handle that well, because I'm quite easily frightened. But it's a horror. It's only like 200 pages long, so it'll be a quick read. And it's about a couple, or, you know, a woman who's going with her boyfriend to visit his like parents' farm or something that's like really remote. And like in the car ride, she's like thinking about if she should break up with him. And then there's a big storm, so they have to take a detour. Something ensues. It gets scary in some way. I really don't know how, but that's good. Obviously, I shouldn't know what's gonna happen before I go into it. I heard Teresa from the channel Ivy Muse talk about this, and she like really loved it. And I've heard a couple of other booktubers say pretty good things about it as well. So I'm really intrigued to read it, but I'm scared that it'll be too scary for me. But hopefully it'll be really exciting. Hoping to pick this one up as well in this first quarter of the year. The next book that I have is Tilly and the Bookwanderers, which is the first book in the Pages & Co. series by Anna James. And this is a middle grade, I guess you should say, fantasy that I haven't heard talked about much on BookTube, even though I feel like most booktubers should love this. Because it's about this girl who lives like on top of a bookshop that her like grandparents run. And at one point there are like book characters, like her favorite book characters, like come out of the books and like come alive. And she discovers that she can like follow the characters into their worlds. And this is somehow gonna help her figure out like what happened to her mother, who passed away some years before. I don't exactly know what the plot is. Anne of Green Gables is one of the book characters that comes to life, and Anne of Green Gables is one of my absolute favorite series, one of my absolute favorite characters in any book ever. And I am a little sad that this book didn't exist when I was a child, because this could have been my absolute favorite book. This would have been like my dream scenario to be able to live out this story, and to read this book would have been amazing. It didn't come out until 2018, so sadly I was not a child anymore. But I'm still really excited to read it now, and I'm intending to read it after I'm Thinking of Ending Things as a little bit of a, all is good in the world kind of palate cleanser. In case that horror book, screws me up too much, then this one will be a nice follow-up. And I wanted to read it for quite a while, so I'm really excited to have this in my hands, and I'm thinking this could be like a new favorite, like middle grade series for sure. Very excited to pick this up. Now, the second to last book that I have is Authority by Jeff VanderMeer. This is the second book in the Southern Reach trilogy. I read the first book, which is called Annihilation, in 2019, so I wanted to continue on with this one before I forget everything that happened in the first book. This is a sci-fi horror series, I guess you could say. I don't know how to describe the series, it's quite strange. It's like there's this Area X, they call it, there's got a lot of weird stuff happening in it, and there's like scientists going in trying to figure out what's going on in there. I don't know how to describe it, honestly. I don't fully remember what happened in the first book. I just know it was a very strange reading experience. You just kind of have to go along with it, and you don't really know what's happening, and it's very creepy and very weird. So I may have to read like some kind of summary of the first book before I dive into this one, so that I'm not too confused in this one. I don't know if this is as good as the first one. I don't really know how I feel about the first one, honestly. It was very intriguing, but also very strange. But I definitely want to continue on. One of my goals for 2021 was to continue on with series and to not just let series lie forever. And this is like the series that I've had on my TBR to continue for the longest. So picking this up, making that effort to not wait too long in between series. I'm excited to see where it goes. I think it could only get stranger, and that could be very interesting. The last book that I have on this quarterly TBR is a book that I also mentioned on my project TBR, and that is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. And this is a YA fantasy with quite heavy romance themes, I believe. I've heard a lot about it on BookTube, and I am a big fan of Naomi Novik's, like her big series, which is the Temrare series, which I pretty much never hear talked about on BookTube, but I hear this one talked about all the time. And I've owned it for quite a while, so I wanted to pick this one up as well. It seems like a lot of people really like it, and I want to know if I like it too. So this fantasy location, it's like a village that's near this dark, scary forest. And in this tower, there's a wizard who like protects the villagers from the evil forest. And as payment for this, he takes, you know, a pretty girl every 10 years. I don't know how often, but occasionally he takes a pretty girl, and that has to like go live with him and, I don't know, do something. And so our main character like gets chosen to be that girl. I don't know what I should expect from it. I know some people really love it, but other people seem a little disappointed by it. You know, I have good feelings about Naomi Novik based on her series, but I don't know how I'll feel about this one, but I really want to know. I really want to have an opinion on it. So I'm excited to pick this one up as well. And I'm thinking that after Authority, this one might be, you know, a little bit lighter because Authority, I'm assuming, will be creepy and weird. This went kind of fast. I don't know if I didn't talk enough about the books. I don't really know how to talk about books that I haven't read yet. The next video I'm planning to do is, I think, my like series that I need to continue with. So I have that planned. I believe that's the next one I'm gonna do. After that, I'm not really sure. I'm thinking of doing bi-monthly wrap-ups, because I know most people do wrap-ups every month, but with how little I read compared to a lot of booktubers, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to do wrap-ups every month, I think, because it would usually just be like, what, 2 or 3 books? I don't know, I feel like that's a little for a video, so I'm thinking I'll do wrap-ups every 2 months. So I'll do TBRs for every quarter, and then for every 2 months, I'll do wrap-ups. Maybe that's strange, I don't know, but I think that kind of makes sense. So I'll do a wrap up at the end of February, but that's in a while, so I'm gonna have to, if I'm gonna wanna post kind of regularly, I'm gonna have to think of more things to post. So if you have any ideas of something that you'd like to see me do, you could absolutely leave that below. Otherwise, I just have to, you know, thank you for watching, and I'll see you back here whenever I post next time.